Tommy Morrison, a name that resonates with raw power and unfulfilled potential, remains one of boxing's most tragic and intriguing figures. Known as the Duke for his striking resemblance to the legendary John Wayne, Morrison rose from the South with an extraordinary blend of athleticism and aggression, making an immediate impact in the boxing world. His career, however, was as unpredictable as his fierce left hook. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Morrison's knockout ability captivated fans, with 42 KOs and 48 wins.
Morrison delights his hometown Kansas City fans with a 2-round,
earning him comparisons to the great Mike Tyson. Despite his undeniable skill and charisma, the Great White Hope was plagued by a chaotic personal life and a career that ended too soon.
Now, I've always been pretty exceptional at sports, but boxing is something I feel like I'm just a step ahead.
A victim of his own excesses, Morrison's rise was marred by controversy, and his fall from grace was even more tragic. Yet in the ring, he was a force to be reckoned with, an unstoppable knockout machine whose punch had the power to end fights in an instant. This is the story of Tommy Morrison, a boxer who had more power than Tyson, but whose legacy was defined not just by his fists, but by the dramatic turns his life took outside the ring. A tragic boxing legend, Tommy Morrison, known in the boxing world as the Duke, was a name that sparked excitement, admiration, and ultimately a sense of tragic loss. Born on January 2, 1969, in the American South, Morrison was the embodiment of what many believed a champion should be. His striking good looks, towering frame of 6'2", and devastating punching power made him an instant fan favorite. His rise in the boxing world was meteoric, and he quickly became known for his thunderous left hook.
there it is, come on, punch, that's it, that's what I'm for. Whoa, delayed reaction.
And the ability to knock out opponents with brutal efficiency. Within 2 years of turning professional, he had already amassed an impressive record, earning him the moniker Great White Hope, as the boxing community compared him to the likes of Mike Tyson.
Well, that was the one fight that I feel as a team that we learned the most. It gave us as a team an indication of what direction we needed to travel. I need to become a more complete fighter. And when I say complete, I mean being able to rely on other things other than being able to hit hard.
But beneath the exterior of this young, talented, and charismatic athlete, there were signs of a more troubled man, struggling to cope with fame, pressure, and personal demons. Morrison's boxing style was a force to be reckoned with. He didn't just win fights, he ended them. His early career was marked by a string of first-round knockouts, with many opponents unable to survive even the first few minutes. His record stood at 18 wins with 16 knockouts before he made his title run. However, despite his incredible talent, Morrison's career took an unexpected turn due to personal struggles, injuries, and distractions outside the ring. By the time he was 22 years old, Morrison was already a contender for the heavyweight championship.
Well, I didn't even have a chance to say it when we spoke with Rick Ennis this morning. He said, I got to stay away from that left hook.
But the road ahead would be filled with turbulence. Morrison's life would become a cautionary tale, showing the perilous effects of fame and excess, and how a champion with so much promise could spiral out of control, ultimately becoming one of the most tragic figures in boxing history. Early life and rise to prominence. Tommy Morrison's journey to the top of the boxing world began in the American South, where he was born on January 2, 1969, to a working-class family.
I know what to expect. I mean, and if you don't believe me, you can ask Mike Tyson.
Raised in a small town, Tommy's natural athleticism quickly became apparent. His early years were shaped by a love for sports, playing football and basketball. Yet it was boxing that truly caught his heart. Introduced to the sport by his father, Morrison's talent was undeniable from the start.
Very good, man. And all the Morrisons, I know everybody, and they're just too strong, too big, eh?
At just 10 years old, he began training, and by the age of 15, he was already competing in adult matches, using a fake ID forged by his mother to gain entry. By the time he graduated high school in 1987, Morrison had already accumulated over 200 amateur matches. His rapid success in the amateur ranks paved the way for a transition to the professional arena. In 1988, after a loss to Ray Mercer in the Olympic trials, Morrison decided to pursue a professional career, adopting the nickname The Duke, a tribute to his distant relative, the legendary John Wayne. His early professional career was a spectacle. With 5 straight first-round knockouts, solidifying his reputation as a fearsome power puncher. The birth of the Duke and professional boxing career.
Low blow from Foreman and a good left hook by Morrison. Two good left hooks by Tommy Morrison, and George didn't move.
In November 1988, Tommy Morrison officially stepped into the professional boxing world, a move that would change the course of his life. Standing 6'2" and weighing over 200 pounds, he was an imposing figure with the perfect physique for heavyweight. His left hook was already becoming his signature weapon, and it didn't take long for Morrison to make a name for himself in the ring.
227 pounds.
His early opponents, none of whom could last more than a few rounds, quickly fell victim to his incredible punching power. By the time 1989 rolled around, Morrison had already amassed 13 wins, with 12 of them ending in knockouts. His style was simple yet devastating, unrelenting pressure, followed by a series of ferocious left hooks and right hands that left opponents on the canvas. Morrison's rise was accelerated when he signed with Bill Caton, the same manager who helped guide the career of Mike Tyson. With a seasoned team behind him, Morrison's progression into the upper echelons of boxing seemed inevitable. His knockout victories, coupled with his natural charisma, made him a media sensation. But while the world saw Morrison as a future champion, there were underlying challenges waiting to derail his ascent. Nonetheless, 1990 marked a pivotal year for Morrison, when he faced veteran fighter Joe Hipp, in a bout that would cement his place as a serious contender in the heavyweight division. Morrison's knockout power and boxing style. Tommy Morrison's knockout power became his trademark, earning him a reputation as one of the most feared punchers in heavyweight boxing. His left hook, in particular, was a weapon of destruction, quick, precise, and lethal. With a record of 42 knockouts and 48 wins, Morrison's ability to end fights in an instant made him a crowd favorite.
14 fights, 12 knockouts for the young 20-year-old from Kansas City.
Powerful, accurate combinations.
Big right hand, followed up on the left by Morrison, and Shelby is in a seated position. So, knockout number 13, victory number 15. And Tommy Morrison remains.
His fighting style was aggressive, relying on his speed, explosive flurries, and a relentless pursuit of his opponent. His power was so undeniable that it became the cornerstone of his entire boxing identity. The road to title contention and comparisons to Mike Tyson. As Morrison's career progressed, comparisons to Mike Tyson became inevitable. Both were powerful punchers, both had a natural charisma that captivated fans, and both were positioned as potential champions. Morrison, however, was on a different path, one that involved overcoming significant obstacles. By 1991, at just 22 years old, he was already vying for the prestigious heavyweight title. His hard-hitting performances against opponents like Pinklon Thomas and James Tillis showcased his potential as a title contender. Despite his knockout success, Morrison still faced challenges, both inside and outside the ring. His ambition to be seen as one of the best in the division drove him, but the distractions that came with fame and excess would soon threaten to derail his dream of becoming champion. The rise to stardom and Rocky V connection. Morrison's rise to stardom reached new heights when he was cast as the antagonist Tommy Gunn in Rocky V 1990, starring Sylvester Stallone. The film's success further elevated his profile, bridging his real-life boxing career with Hollywood fame. On screen, he replicated his signature power punches, thrilling audiences. Off-screen, Morrison's boxing career was also flourishing, with an undefeated streak and a growing fan base. However, his personal life began to spiral as fame took its toll. Tommy Morrison's most notable knockouts.
He was out of it, groggy. I mean, he doesn't know what's hitting him at that point.
Well, those are damaging blows right there. He was out of it 4, 5, 6. Wow. Morrison could have been seriously hurt there.
Morrison's career was defined by his spectacular knockouts, each one showcasing his ferocious power. Among his most memorable victories were his first-round stoppages of opponents like Tony Moran and Scott Frank, as well as a dominant victory over John Castle. Morrison's ability to end fights quickly, often within the first few rounds, made him a dangerous opponent in the heavyweight division. His most significant knockouts cemented his place as one of boxing's hardest-hitting fighters. The fight against Ray Mercer and career turning point. In 1991, Morrison faced Ray Mercer for the WBO heavyweight title, marking a major turning point in his career.
And there's
Challenged by Mercer. And this is...
The ring is a puncher's mat. Very thick padding. You can dig your toes into there and push.
The fight, which was touted as a potential showdown between two rising stars, did not go as planned for Morrison. After a strong start, Morrison began to tire, and Mercer took control in the later rounds. Morrison was unable to maintain his early momentum, and Mercer ultimately claimed the title with a decisive victory, handing Morrison his first significant defeat. The impact of injuries and personal struggles. After his loss to Ray Mercer, Morrison's career faced multiple setbacks. Injuries, including a broken hand, kept him out of the ring for several months, and when he returned, his performances were inconsistent. Outside the ring, Morrison struggled with fame and the pressures of being a public figure. His personal life, marked by substance abuse and reckless behavior, began to overshadow his boxing career, contributing to a series of defeats and missed opportunities for a title shot. The fall from grace. As Tommy Morrison's career continued, his personal struggles took a heavier toll. Despite his natural talent, Morrison couldn't escape the destructive lifestyle that accompanied fame. Substance abuse and reckless behavior started to dominate his life, affecting his training, his focus, and his relationships. His spiral into turmoil not only resulted in missed opportunities, but also tarnished the promising career he had once seemed destined to dominate. By 1993, this fall from grace was already in full swing. Comeback attempts and the decline of the Duke.
I'd ask that you no longer see me as a role model, but see me as an individual that had the opportunity to be a role model and blew it.
In 1994, Morrison made an attempt to revive his career, securing a series of victories that hinted at a possible comeback. However, his physical decline was evident. His once powerful punches lacked the same precision and explosiveness, and he struggled to regain the form that had made him a feared heavyweight. The comeback attempts were marred by inconsistent performances, and despite a few more victories, it was clear that the damage done by his personal battles and injuries was irreversible. The HIV diagnosis and controversy. In 1996, Morrison's career took an irreversible turn when he tested positive for HIV, a shocking revelation that rocked the boxing world. The diagnosis ended his boxing career, and he publicly expressed regret over his reckless lifestyle that led to his downfall. However, in a strange twist, Morrison later claimed that the diagnosis was a misdiagnosis, stating that he never had the virus. This controversy only deepened the mystery surrounding his tragic fall from the sport he once dominated. The final years. After the HIV diagnosis, Morrison disappeared from the public eye, retreating into a life of solitude and reflection. He tried to make a comeback in 1996, fighting in Japan against Marcus R.H., but the fight lasted less than 2 minutes. Despite brief attempts to return, Morrison struggled with his health, including physical decline and addiction. By 2007, he claimed to have been misdiagnosed and began to turn his life around. However, his boxing career was permanently derailed. Lessons from Tommy Morrison's life and career. Tommy Morrison's life and career serve as a powerful reminder of the fragility of greatness. His story is one of extraordinary talent, fleeting success, and the overwhelming consequences of personal battles. Morrison's early rise to fame was built on a natural gift that made him one of the most feared punchers in boxing history. Yet his inability to navigate the fame and pressures that came with it led to a rapid decline. His struggle with substance abuse, a reckless lifestyle, and an inability to manage the highs and lows of professional sports prevented him from achieving his full potential. Morrison's fall from grace teaches us that talent alone isn't enough to ensure success, and that mental and emotional strength are just as important as physical ability. His career highlights the importance of staying grounded and having the right support system to handle the pressures that come with being in the spotlight. Ultimately, Tommy Morrison's story reminds us that while boxing is a sport of power and glory, it can also be one of devastating consequences when personal struggles are ignored. Tommy Morrison's legacy. Tommy Morrison's legacy in boxing is one of incredible promise and tragic loss. With a record of 42 knockouts and 48 wins, he was one of the most powerful and dynamic fighters of his era. His left hook became legendary, and his rise to fame was swift, often compared to boxing icons like Mike Tyson. However, his inability to handle the pressures of fame, personal struggles, and injuries prevented him from reaching his full potential. Despite his downfall, Morrison remains a symbol of both talent and the dangers of excess. Tommy Morrison's legacy is a bittersweet reminder that raw talent and power aren't enough without the right support and mindset. His life teaches us the importance of balance, resilience, and self-awareness.